Top interview question answers on machine learning part 2. Q1. What's the kernel trick and how is it useful? Answer. The kernel trick involves kernel functions that can enable in higher dimension spaces without explicitly calculating the coordinates of points within that dimension. Instead, kernel functions compute the inner products between the images of all pairs of data in a feature space. This allows them the very useful attribute of calculating the coordinates of higher dimensions while being computationally cheaper than the explicit calculation of said coordinates. Many algorithms can be expressed in terms of inner products. Using the kernel trick enables us effectively run algorithms in a high-dimensional space with lower-dimensional data. Q2. How do you handle missing or corrupted data in a dataset? Answer. You could find missing/corrupted data in a dataset and either drop those rows or columns, or decide to replace them with another value. In pandas, there are two very useful methods, isNull and dropNull, that will help you find columns of data with missing or corrupted data and drop those values. If you want to fill the invalid values with a placeholder value, for example, 0, you could use the fillNull method. Q3. Do you have experience with Spark or big data tools for machine learning? Answer. You'll want to get familiar with the meaning of big data for different companies and the different tools they'll want. Spark is the big data tool most in demand now, able to handle immense datasets with speed. Be honest if you don't have experience with the tools demanded, but also take a look at job descriptions and see what tools pop up. You'll want to invest in familiarizing yourself with them. Q4. Pick an algorithm. Write the pseudocode for a Peril-L implementation. Answer. This kind of question demonstrates your ability to think in parallelism and how you could handle concurrency in programming implementations dealing with big data. Take a look at pseudocode frameworks such as Peril-L and visualization tools such as web sequence diagrams to help you demonstrate your ability to write code that reflects parallelism. Q5. What are some differences between a linked list and an array? Answer. An array is an ordered collection of objects. A linked list is a series of objects with pointers that direct how to process them sequentially. An array assumes that every element has the same size, unlike the linked list. A linked list can more easily grow organically. An array has to be predefined or redefined for organic growth. Shuffling a linked list involves changing which points direct where. Meanwhile, shuffling an array is more complex and takes more memory. Q6. Describe a hash table. Answer. A hash table is a data structure that produces an associative array. A key is mapped to certain values through the use of a hash function. They are often used for tasks such as database indexing. Q7. Which data visualization libraries do you use? What are your thoughts on the best data visualization tools? Answer. What's important here is to define your views on how to properly visualize data and your personal preferences when it comes to tools. Popular tools include R's ggplot, Python's seaborn and matplotlib, and tools such as plot.ly and Tableau. Q8. Given two strings, a and b, of the same length n, find whether it is possible to cut both strings at a common point such that the first part of a and the second part of b form a palindrome. Answer. You'll often get standard algorithms and data structures questions as part of your interview process as a machine learning engineer that might feel akin to a software engineering interview. In this case, this comes from Google's interview process. There are multiple ways to check for palindromes. One way of doing so if you're using a programming language such as Python is to reverse the string and check to see if it still equals the original string, for example. The thing to look out for here is the category of questions you can expect, which will be akin to software engineering questions that drill down to your knowledge of algorithms and data structures. Make sure that you're totally comfortable with the language of your choice to express that logic. Q9. How are primary and foreign keys related in SQL? Answer. Most machine learning engineers are going to have to be conversant with a lot of different data formats. SQL is still one of the key ones used. Your ability to understand how to manipulate SQL databases will be something you'll most likely need to demonstrate. In this example, you can talk about how foreign keys allow you to match up and join tables together on the primary key of the corresponding table. But just as useful is to talk through how you would think about setting up SQL tables and querying them. Q10. How does XML and CSVs compare in terms of size? Answer. In practice, XML is much more verbose than CSVs are and takes up a lot more space. CSVs use some separators to categorize and organize data into neat columns. XML uses tags to delineate a tree-like structure for key-value pairs. You'll often get XML back as a way to semi-structure data from APIs or HTTP responses. In practice, you'll want to ingest XML data and try to process it into a usable CSV. This sort of question tests your familiarity with data wrangling sometimes messy data formats. Q11. What are the data types supported by JSON? Answer. This tests your knowledge of JSON, another popular file format that wraps with JavaScript. There are 6 basic JSON data types you can manipulate: strings, numbers, objects, arrays, booleans, and null values. Q12. How would you build a data pipeline? Answer. Data pipelines are the bread and butter of machine learning engineers, who take data science models and find ways to automate and scale them. Make sure you're familiar with the tools to build data pipelines, such as Apache Airflow, and the platforms where you can host models and pipelines, such as Google Cloud or AWS or Azure. Explain the steps required in a functioning data pipeline and talk through your actual experience building and scaling them in production. Q13. What do you think is the most valuable data in our business? Answer. This question or questions like it really try to test you on 2 dimensions. The first is your knowledge of the business and the industry itself, as well as your understanding of the business model. The second is whether you can pick how correlated data is to business outcomes in general, and then how you apply that thinking to your context about the company. You'll want to research the business model and ask good questions to your recruiter and start thinking about what business problems they probably want to solve most with their data. Q14. How would you implement a recommendation system for our company's users? Answer. A lot of machine learning interview questions of this type will involve the implementation of machine learning models to a company's problems. You'll have to research the company and its industry in depth, especially the revenue drivers the company has, and the types of users the company takes on in the context of the industry it's in. Q15. How can we use your machine learning skills to generate revenue? Answer. This is a tricky question. The ideal answer would demonstrate knowledge of what drives the business and how your skills could relate. For example, if you were interviewing for music streaming startup Spotify, you could remark that your skills at developing a better recommendation model would increase user retention, which would then increase revenue in the long run. The startup metrics slide share linked above will help you understand exactly what performance indicators are important for startups and tech companies as they think about revenue and growth. Q16. What are the last machine learning papers you've read? Answer. Keeping up with the latest scientific literature on machine learning is a must if you want to demonstrate an interest in a machine learning position. This overview of deep learning in nature by the scions of deep learning themselves, from Hinton to Bengio to LeCun, can be a good reference paper and an overview of what's happening in deep learning and the kind of paper you might want to cite. Q17. Do you have research experience in machine learning? Answer. Related to the last point, most organizations hiring for machine learning positions will look for your formal experience in the field. Research papers, co-authored or supervised by leaders in the field, can make the difference between you being hired and not. Make sure you have a summary of your research experience and papers ready and an explanation for your background and lack of formal research experience if you don't. Q18. What are your favorite use cases of machine learning models? Answer. The Quora thread below contains some examples, such as decision trees that categorize people into different tiers of intelligence based on IQ scores. Make sure that you have a few examples in mind and describe what resonated with you. It's important that you demonstrate an interest in how machine learning is implemented. Q19. How would you approach the Netflix prize competition? Answer. The Netflix prize was a famed competition where Netflix offered $1 million for a better collaborative filtering algorithm. The team that won, called Belcore, had a 10% improvement and used an ensemble of different methods to win. Some familiarity with the case and its solution will help demonstrate you've paid attention to machine learning for a while. Q20. Where do you usually source datasets? Answer. Machine learning interview questions like these try to get at the heart of your machine learning interest. Somebody who is truly passionate about machine learning will have gone off and done side projects on their own, and have a good idea of what great datasets are out there. If you're missing any, check out Quandl for economic and financial data, and Kaggle's datasets collection for another great list.